All right,
You're
welcome back to the
live.
channel, guys. We're back with another podcast episode,
Yes, we
Guided
are.
Primal Sutra podcast. And in this episode, we're talking about what if the violet flame
Uh-huh.
is how aliens talk to us in
Right.
2025. So, how do we come about
Yeah.
this topic? Well,
Well, you introduced
I was just
this
wondering,
like
like,
50
you
minutes
ever
ago.
you ever wonder like why aliens aren't just chilling out at Starbucks, right?
I mean, I've yet to meet ET face to face, and it would be very interesting to have a cup of coffee, and hopefully they can actually digest the bitch.
Hmm.
Because
What
what
if the
if?
people that we saw were beings?
What do
Like
you
the
mean?
Men in Black, you know what I mean? Like how they can
Oh,
shape shift.
Man in Black exists for sure. For sure, Man in Black exists. I haven't done enough research to give a proper opinion on it, but if there's aliens, there has to be something of the equivalent of MIB on Earth. There has to be. There has to
Mhm.
be. We've heard so, and I'm going on a tangent for a second.
Here come
If,
the Men in Black.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And used to be a Will Smith fan until whatever happened. But anyway, the point is,
No,
if
I'm
you
still a
can,
fan after his music dropped. He's going up and down for me, man, in my mind. I don't know. Because it's
what
like
if,
anybody can have a fucking spazzy moment like that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just his
yeah.
was just public humiliation or whatever it was. Like it was
But this
just
this again
blown out
goes
of
into
proportion.
to humiliation rituals, etc. Right? But
Right,
that's not
right,
the
right, of
topic of
course.
today. The topic of today is aliens and what the fuck's going on.
Not
And
aliens, but aliens.
to
Shout
any
out alien.
alien, to any alien that watches this episode, shout out to you, my man. To you, especially you. Anyway,
Send this clip
any
to him, bro. Anyway, yeah. So most most extraterrestrials, right, ETs, are actually third dimensional, but for them it's optional. So like they
ah,
can choose to slide in and out of physicality, right? So
okay,
we sleep to leave our bodies. They can meditate, make love, like vibe their way through dimensions.
right.
So they
So,
aren't here for nitrogen. You know what I mean? Like they're here for
okay,
something else.
so here's just for something
And
else, right?
well,
S
some people have this theory that they're mining us for gold, but that's besides the point.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. If they're
Okay.
mining here for gold, it has to be that Earth is a mining place, which means it might as well be a port. And if there's a port, there's security, there is management, because goods need to be checked going in and out. So there might as well be
Yeah.
trade. So if there's trade, there has to be organization, and it might as well be something like the MIB.
Yeah, but
Now,
also the Earth's atmosphere, I think what it does to them is like putting a slug in salt. Like they would just evaporate. Like they would, that's why they don't just pull up on spaceships all the time. You see it rarely, right? There are these little occurrences, flickers here and there
but what
of
about
alien
our
sighting.
encounter with them in Bali?
Yeah, that
Because
was creepy. That was very creepy. Yeah.
that that was if because I thought it was just some generator that was stuck for 14 days, and I was like, what is this
Yeah.
about? And then even the locals were just weirded out.
They thought
And
that it was the crickets or like the geckos of the place because it had a similar kind of
yeah,
frequency, but
but
this frequency was so different.
it
It
was
was
a
like
constant.
holographic.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how it
yeah.
felt, or
And
something like that. Yeah.
only to, of course, later find out that some of the aliens that we work with were also surveying the area and trying to keep us safe for whatever it was trying to, um, without revealing too much, observing us, so to speak.
Man, they love our hot mess experience, man. I'm just gonna say that. Like they
What do
look
you
at
mean?
humans like, look at these, creatures. They treat us like universal sims. They like to pick sides and characters and like this president and like
Well,
they that's
with
the energy I
Temptation
pick up from them when
Island,
I channel
that's how I feel about
osmosis
it.
at least.
If
Yeah.
I feel into that same energy, I think what you're trying to say is like Temptation Island, you know? It's like all this
Yeah, yeah.
drama, all these extra things, and
You're
you,
right.
it's one of those I get to live from my living room, like in my UFO, and just see what the fuck these creatures are doing, right? They have so much potential, yet they still decide to do what they do. And
Yeah.
that's one way to look at it.
Elians
Those,
and Ellies and Elianas. Okay. So Ellie says her friend's name is Eliana. Okay.
of course it is.
So
Of course it is.
projection is actually their flex. So they can like weave in and out of our world, right? They
That's
can
what you meant.
project in, project out. And crop circles are like galactic graffiti, right? They leave sometimes these things behind.
Oh,
Of course, it can be faked by farmers and things like that too. But I think some of them can do that kind of etch a sketch message into the earth. Um, it's like a shared whiteboard, right? or whatever.
right,
Cosmic
right.
Zoo
So
call.
meanwhile, they're causing millions upon millions of dollars of damages of crops for what?
Because that's how they speak. They speak in geometry and resonance and
Right.
frequencies, right?
You're absolutely right. But humans do that too, but with body language. If the vibe is
Right.
off, the vibe is off. But they
Yeah.
might, but where we tend to have, a little bit more basic, vibration, if you want to call it like that, they might be way more advanced than we like to admit. What does
Yeah.
Cyrus Moses have to say about that? One of the
He says, just because you can't see us doesn't mean we're not there. Just because you don't speak our tongue doesn't mean that we aren't trying to talk. That's what he's
right,
saying, basically. But yeah, so
right,
Alien April is all about merging our most high intelligence selves with our most authentic selves. So hyper intelligence and hyper authenticity at the same time. And I think high intelligence isn't just about hoarding facts. Like we're not like spiritual
right. Yeah, about
Wikipedia,
this.
but we are turning data into wisdom, and wisdom then we're turning into a presence or a character.
Right. Interesting.
So,
Why should the audience care about this topic even?
well, in order to really chime into this frequency of this month, you're gonna have to understand some of these laws of Alien April. Otherwise, it's just gonna
I
take you
see.
like a storm.
Right.
Yeah.
What would then be the main
So,
principle behind? It was one pillar that must be followed this month. And I'm again speaking as an adept on behalf of the adepts. What is the one thing we need to do, if anything, without revealing too much to the open world, of course?
so the idea is I am what I am, but I understand everything I am not, right? So
Right.
high intelligence thrives in complexity and authenticity thrives in simplicity. So
Interesting.
how do we merge both a complex soul with simple truths?
Right. I have the answer to that, or at least my version of it. It's the
Yeah,
same
go ahead.
thing as what I keep saying about in my data career. I like building simple data products like dashboards. It's to the point, easy to manage, whatever, and 9 out of 10 times easy to convert to other tools, etc. Plus, rarely do we go back and make it more efficient. If it's good enough, it's good enough, man. We don't need to be perfect. Perfect is for the gods, right?
Yeah.
And it's taken years for me to get that understanding and years longer to embody that. But because of that, now I have extra work and projects and I'm growing at a rapid pace, which forces me again to, as we've talked about before this, during the warm-up, uh, that it's likely that new level, new devil, then this devil now forces one to come to reflection. So now Unga Bunga, whatever, I can't hit it with a mix anymore. maybe it's time to take a step back and start hitting the right places.
Yeah. So tuning into your own inner signal and unlearning before you learn, right? Most
Right,
authentic people do that. And high
right.
intelligence requires you to not just think outside the box, but to question the box itself. Like, what is the structure? And
I ask that very often, but continue.
yeah, right. So speaking from experience, not just theory, you could read, 1,000 books on flow, but until you've hit that no mind
Yeah,
goosebumps, God mode,
yeah.
then you're just not there yet, right? So then authenticity becomes your lived curriculum of life. And it's like
Interesting.
intelligence is the sword, authenticity is the hand that wields it.
The hand that
So
wields it,
that's,
right?
yeah, so the mind is sharp, the heart is open, the soul is online. That's kind of the understanding of this energy. So what in the Saint Germain's name is the violet flame, right?
Right.
Like this is not a regular fire. You don't like cook your eggs on the violet flame, right? Unless you
I
want
mean, you
to.
could try.
Um,
If I haven't
oh
done
yeah,
it
there was
before.
like this color theory thing you sent me, Ryan, where you can change the color of your campfires or whatever. That was
Ah,
really cool.
uh,
Yeah.
laundry detergent or whatever it's called makes blue or purple. I forgot.
Bro, no, don't say that. Read the disclaimer, guys. Don't
Re
try
Oh,
that
don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot.
without researching. Yeah. But
You
yeah.
don't be an idiot. You and especially you in the corner, don't be a fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah, that guy in the
check
back.
the sources,
Fuck.
please. I am not a
Right.
chemist. I am at best an
Right.
alchemist.
Right.
Right? Read
Alchemy 101, baby. Yeah. So
Alchemy
the
101. Read the instructions first.
right. So
Fucking
I
do it
I
in a
see the
safe
violet
environment.
flame. The violet flame is like the soul's pressure washer, right? It like
Right.
takes away all the
Ah, yeah, yeah,
stress.
yeah.
It transmutes, it flips the script from, fear to flow,
Right.
anger into amethyst or whatever other reframe you want to use. Lead to gold, paint to purpose, all that good stuff. But violet,
I
I
like
think, is
that.
the fastest frequency, and violet's the last
Yes.
stop on the rainbow highway.
Yeah.
So where light gets freaky and disappears into the higher realms.
As it
And it's
does.
the bridge between what you see and what you're scared to feel. So where the visible meets the invisible is where the violet flame lives. So it aligns everything, your thoughts, your memories, your chakras, your grandma's cookie jar. Okay. All of it is humming with the violet flame. So
Right.
if you tune it back to your own divine note, it sings your soul's original frequency. And then suddenly your burdens melt, your shadows blush. And then the
Right.
real you starts going, did I just get upgraded? Like, what the fuck just happened? I feel the innocence of a child again after like moments of contemplation. So
Interesting.
that's how the violet flame feels to me, or the violet fire. I am the being of violet fire. I'm the purity God desires. I think that is the violet flame decree.
Yeah.
You can look it up, but it's a very
Yeah.
powerful one.
Yeah, as you said, I feel lighter.
Yeah.
So we have decided to look at aliens and violet flames. That's the two main topic. Now, let's bring them together. See how I want to
Right.
keep this at a final 20 minute, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Reason, as we've discussed during our warm up, we have a theory that if you clear whatever channels that you're connected with, a lot of doors begin to open for you because you're not only not in your way, but other things like gunk and whatever are stopping to be in your way. So whatever wants to connect with you with good intentions, etc., connected with source, of course, it wouldn't be that far-fetched that aliens, let's say protective alien-like beings,
Right.
want to say a quick hello. Could you
Oh,
imagine that? Could you imagine? Let's imagine your star seed. Oh, well, then things started getting more interesting because now you give it context. So let's say you're part of a
right.
star seed family, Lyran, whatever, right? And
So
then,
there's many different like beings that are associated with the violet flame as well, like Saint Germain, Lady Portia. I believe there's many others of if you just type in the violet ray, you can also
right,
find many beings along that scale. So I mean Saint Germain, for instance, he dropped it in the 30s, or I think. But again, of course, he came through many different timelines and so forth.
right.
But the only ones the people who got access to it probably started mystery schools and they basically kept to that wisdom themselves. However, now we have access to it and we understand that the flame is like working and scrubbing off centuries of gunk from your
Yes,
spirit.
yes. And that's what Primal Sutra stands for. It is
Right.
it's not, well, it's the cleaning up of the system in every way possible, especially spiritual.
Yeah.
A clean system functions well. We have seen it with cars before. I don't
Yeah.
know enough about cars to even give a comment on this. It's like my little brother's territory. Like that's a man's man. But the point is, if there's toxins in your body, your body will communicate with you as such, and it's your job to address it. So then use the violet flame to address such things.
Yeah. It's like, I
That is
don't want the
correct,
hotline
Montes.
bling. It's basically
That can
that,
only
bro.
mean one thing. Right,
Right. So it's like a interdimensional hotline, basically. You're tapping into this one sharp violet beam of light that could easily be a UFO's beam, right?
right.
And UFOs and ETs are they're not gonna speak English or like
Of course they're not.
beep boop Morse code. They're speaking frequencies. And the violet flame, I believe,
Right.
is associated with a specific kind of frequency, if I'm not mistaken. And
I I wonder what it is. Yeah, continue.
yeah, I wonder what it is too. Maybe we can look it up.
Yeah, on it.
But yeah, what if you were the flame? This is what we're basically saying.
So it
Remember your
seems,
signal, be
yeah,
the antenna. Yeah.
be the antenna. Speaking of antennas, frequencies. According to what I'm seeing here, it's a combination between 417 and 528. At least that's the first thing that comes up.
Okay.
Or, according to other sources, it could also be 936.
Yeah.
It's the
I was thinking
repelling
that
and
one.
removing of negative energies from your aura, etc. Yeah, that makes more sense. That makes more
Totally,
sense.
because 936 is Tesla numbers manifestation, but it's also in our path working, it's very powerful, associated with spiritual awakening. So yeah, it's like nervous system repair after any kind of shock or trauma. It is uh very powerful energy to heal, return to wholeness, return to freedom again.
Right.
So it's like a celestial password almost. And
Yeah.
aliens aren't saviors, right? They've got their own
Ah,
agendas, just like your boss does,
absolutely.
your ex does, your inner critic does in your head.
Absolutely.
Some are cool,
Yes.
some are cooked, right? You can't like
Yeah.
cold-blooded tech lords, but then
Yeah.
they're the galactic big bros, right?
The way I see it is you can rely on the big bro, but you can expect a noogie from time to time. Because of course they are. You know? It's like
Yeah.
dating. Of course you're gonna bitch at some point and argue and fight. Of course. But it's in the way that we handle it that dictates the quality of
Yeah.
relationship and the direction that we have to be taking. That's just what it is.
Right. So it's about consciousness, not just about contact, right? We want to meet them, that's really cool, but let's stop waiting for them to slide on the White House lawn with a DJ and a fruit tray or some shit, Like,
That's an image. I might create that
but
with
yeah,
ChatGPT.
real contact happens inside. So if you tune into the
Yeah.
violet flame, your brain's frequency is now tapping into this like radio dial.
Yeah.
Starseed Spotify, right?
Right.
Oh, I just raised
How?
my hand.
No.
How?
What do you want to say? How?
Yeah. Damn it.
Ah,
Zoom's on Zoom again. That's so
clearly,
that's how
clearly.
the ancient
It's a
Atlanteans
sue and
did
assume
it.
crime. It's assuming
The
some
ancient
crime.
Atlanteans did this, like that's how Egypt had tech that they still couldn't decode because they weren't primitive, they were plugged the fuck in, right? So the real alien tech is your I am, your God mode, your God code, the built-in mainframe of your soul. And you don't need
Right.
Elon Musk or some government disclosure documentary to access.
Right.
You know, you just need to
Interesting.
sit down, breathe, and remember you're not from here.
Yeah. We're on an adventure. That's how I like to state it. I'm on an adventure here. I want to have fun. So every time, like before I even came here, I had like no energy and I had to like find a pocket of how can I make this into an adventure for me? As an answer to me just feeling worn out. And I decided to walk around, etc., in the building, say hi to people or whatever. And then slowly but surely the energy just came back and I started to listen to rock and roll or whatever. Kind of
Bro,
pretending
this
I'm
might
going,
sound
what's up?
this might sound super anti-conformist, but if the system promotes it, it's not freedom, bro. It's fucking programming.
Right. Huh.
So
Well, this is a
alien
question I
contact on
shouldn't
the
be asking.
news is all scripted, staged, sanitized, Project
Yeah.
Bluebeam, all that shit.
Yeah, but they still fucked the Mexicans, the Hawaiians. They
Mm,
still fucked them over, and they are
yeah.
for sure. And I'm choosing my words very carefully. There are for sure things influencing government-like bodies that cannot be
Mm.
seen with the naked eye.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I'm gonna stop that topic right there before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
Moving on. But
Good.
it's one of those, I'm not touching this anymore. No, not for this podcast. What
Mm.
does this have to do with us going to Sedona?
I believe it has something to do with it, obviously. Like there are some theories about certain space beings and in Sedona. Maybe you can look that up, Ryan. But I got that energy quite a while back that there are certain space um,
Oh,
located with certain Palladians or certain space beings. But irregardless, I think the main thing connecting this is to know thyself and to master your energy, to transcend the actual trap and rebuild Eden 2.0 with the violet flame in one hand and the galactic blueprint in the other. So
right,
aliens are not out here like, you know, inside, they're not out in the physical world. They're in your soul's basement, kind of waiting for you
right.
to flip the lights on.
Well,
So stop scrolling, start remembering.
well, speaking of stopping of scrolling, we can do a UFO tour in Sedona.
Oh yeah, let's do
Yeah.
that. How do you guys like that idea? Let the Adams
Uh,
speak on that. That's cool. All right.
it's written
Mathis,
in
I'm missing
Dutch.
some of your comments. If you have anything that wants to be said live, just retype it, brother. I'll read it from
Let me
this
see.
point on. Okay.
For us, first, thinking about Violet Flame, the question the box was also choosing Z boxes till you outgrow them. Fair. Fast frequency, yeah. Too much system, yep. You can use the Violet Flame to calm the nervous system, and that's also the way you communicate with the universe and your environment, because if you're nervous in a calm environment, something is wrong. So if you want
Yeah.
wealth and your nerves or your nervous system gets way too amped up when receiving whatever amount of money, that kind of fucks with everything.
Yeah. And we still have stereotypes for them, right? Like, oh, stay away from the grays and the reptiles. Like, don't fucking touch them. Like we as human beings, we still have like this kind of discrimination against certain beings, which is understandable. So this is kind of interplanetary. We have this kind of speciesism or whatever the fuck. But yeah, super interesting.
The way I see
Every
it is
ascension
if I
path
see
has
a
to work with
skunk,
the violet flame. Wow.
that's
Yeah.
true.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But to make a parable, right? If you see a skunk in the wild and you don't know the skunk and it's your first time in that forest, I am walking the other direction, away from the skunk. It's too much of a gamble to get sprayed by a skunk. The risk reward is non-existent. It's the risks are too high for barely any reward, so I'm moving away. Do you see what I mean? So, yes, let's be open-minded about stereotypes, but let's not risk our lives because of it. Because we're dealing with entities beyond this world and in between these two dimensions. So again, as per the disclaimer, say it with me now. Don't be an idiot.
11-11.
Exactly. 11:11. The angels are telling you don't be a fucking idiot. That's my shin search for some reason. Don't be an
Yeah.
idiot.
You're
Read
not
the
here to be a
disclaimer.
pawn in
Follow
some
the
game. You're
law.
yeah.
What the lad. And if you're gonna be a
You're
pawn anyway, you might as well be the best or the only. Right? Might as well be the best or the only. Respect to the law. Yeah, absolutely for us. You know.
all you got are your mantras and your balls, bro. Remember
Yeah, well,
that?
absolutely.
Or your
Absolutely.
ovaries.
And pick your
Have
battles.
and.
Speaking of picking, this is like the part where you start talking a little bit more about Sedona. The reason I'm heading there is because I want to really get to know my marsh energy. Because I feel I've been misunderstanding it too much.
Chakra upgrades as well. The red rock
Yes.
energy is definitely really good for that. So
Shout out to the
definitely,
Red Rock Woman singers, whatever the
yeah,
names are. Or it'd be cool. It'd
right.
be cool. But what I'm most looking forward to is another adventure. It's taking a plane, solo tripping for a while, waiting on you fuckers to show up at some point, and then we're
Got to
gonna
be
fuck
soul
around.
smart, bro. Yeah,
So smart? What do you mean?
yeah. You can't just be smart. You got to be tuned in. I mean, like
Ah, absolutely. Absolutely.
because there's things
Absolutely.
that there might be surprises along the spiritual path, man. Like we meet certain energies, we meet
I mean,
random surprises at times, and we got to be freestyle shamans in those moments. And
after after Costa
yeah,
Rica, we are not that surprised anymore.
yeah,
Shit was still scary, especially remember coming back from the north to going back home, and then we had to take a detour to fucking hillbilly country, I guess, or at least the New Zealand version, and then we all were sharing the same fucking visions about
yeah,
whatever creepy
yeah.
crawly motherfuckers they were in that wood. And that being said, fuck those creepy crawlies, and I feel extremely sorry for their fate. To be cursed with unending hunger is something I wouldn't wish upon my enemies, even the worst of them. It's absolutely cruel, and then you find out days later that some of them used to be human beings, and something has happened to them,
You know,
likely by force.
I have something very practical that the audience can do to use the violet flame daily.
Ah,
So basically, like you can imagine you're taking a morning shower and your morning shower is the violet flame. It's like violet
ah.
juice or whatever, scrubbing your aura
I
clean.
wish you didn't say juice. I wish you didn't say juice. Now everything sounds weird.
Hey, it's sponsored by Kool-Aid, right? So,
Hey, sponsored
um,
by Purple Drink.
as every
Oh, you
great
have
cult knows, okay? Yeah. So,
the only
so yeah,
Kool-Aid I
anyway.
drink is my own. Anyway,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. We're technically kind of out in the open and running a cult. We might as well state it. The only cool, if anyone serves me Kool-Aid, no, no, I'm cool.
Mm.
Thanks. I'm bringing my
Let's
own
just
drinks.
say you're burning incense, right? Or you're
Right.
splashing water on your face, or
Uh-huh.
let's say you're adding an essential oil spray around your room or perfume on your clothes, you can just
Sure,
imagine the violet flame
sure.
in all of these different parts of your day, right? And
Yeah.
so then you just gotta carry that frequency wherever you go, in a sense. And
Okay.
lavender before sleep, of course, we know that
Oh, of
tech,
course, of
right?
course. But if you're gonna carry it, of course you will be distracted and lose it for a second. And that's the moment to observe whatever happens and find the pocket or whatever that means. And then traverse and try to connect those pockets.
1 second, Ryan. I'm just gonna share with the audience this last thing before we end.
Okay.
So I drew Sire Osmosis quite recently,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
essentially he's violet. So I just wanted to point that out that
Not what I had
I
in mind.
was
So
tapping into this energy.
is
Yes.
there a reason he's wearing a corset or is it something else?
It's not a corset, brother. Yeah, you're seeing it different. I'll send you the picture. Maybe you're seeing
Okay,
it too
okay,
small
because
on it.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
what
Yeah,
am I
it's not a
seeing too
corset.
small exactly? Anyway. My apologies,
Right.
sir, Cyrus Moses. I'm only joking. I'm only joking. That being said, I think we've come around the end of this podcast. I wish you all a fantastic day. Assuming there's no comments in YouTube, I don't think there are, especially with the time
Um,
switch.
Let me just check one last time.
Yeah, refreshing it real quick on my end as well.
All right, SOW, damn yeah,
Damn, yeah,
dang
okay.
yeah. But something I just want to be an idiot so bad. Why is that sometimes? Yeah.
Well, okay, here's the thing.
It's your shadow.
Absolutely. One. Uh, from the more negative side, it could be self-sabotage, and that's the moment where if I feel it's going that direction, the only thing I'm asking myself is, does this serve me in any way, shape, or form, especially long term? And should this become a habit, especially, right? And the answer tends to be a lot of times no. If it's yes, fucking let's just be goofy, whatever, right?
Yeah. I
However,
mean, the world taught you, like, they told you who to forget being, right? Over time.
right, right. And then
So you're not
after
just
you
healing,
leave
you're
school,
remembering.
you're
Yeah.
remembering.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening to me as well, because I remember my grandparents telling me about what an absolute rascal I used to be, and then I compare myself to that kid, and that kid has more balls than me when it comes to the things. I would openly flirt with the neighborhood girls, like whatever, and my mom had to drag me by the ear back into the car, and I wouldn't dare do that these days. You know what I'm saying? It also helps that I was a very cute 5-year-old, but you know what I mean? You know
Damn,
what I
bro.
mean?
You should have had more supportive moms, just like, pushing
No.
you.
It was clearly, and it's kind of like the after party shit.
Unless it was really
Clearly,
rascality, as you say, then probably you deserved it. I don't know.
could you rate that? Was it last night really that much of a rascal?
Yeah, it's like it's pretty high up there. It's like 7 out of 10.
Jesus,
So yeah,
Jesus, I don't.
rascality. Yeah,
I,
levels. Muscle test
I'm.
my rascality levels.
Yeah, fucking hell,
Yeah,
fucking hell. I don't remember being that. Although I did get my ass whooped by my parents a lot. But the main
turn your
message is,
trauma into tantra. That's our main message.
that being said,
Put that
ladies
on
and
a
gentlemen,
t-shirt.
this has
Yeah. All
that
right,
being
guys.
said, this has been GPS Guided Primal Sutra with co-host Ryan G. Sumit Chatterjee, wishing you the very best.